Hello, everyone. I am Rain, the Skeptical Mystic, and today we're going to talk about feelings of disconnect. This is one that my wife sort of brought to me today, feeling, like she was really sort of separated from her spiritual self, which is not unusual for her, but it does make her feel good. She likes to have a healthy balance of, her spiritual side and being sort of more grounded in the material. And sometimes it can be a little too much in either direction. And right now it's leaning more towards too material, too grounded, kind of disconnected. So I want to look at sort of where disconnect in our world might be coming from, right? This is kind of a reading for her, but it's a reading for all of you guys too. It's a reading for me. I pay attention to the shit that comes out of my mouth. Maybe I learned stuff from it, So we're going to look at those spiritual disconnect. We're going to try to figure out sort of maybe where it's coming from and, what we can do about it and where it might lead us if we're able to address it. So I didn't like that this was out there. If you're not familiar with the conceit of this channel, I've got these 4 decks here. I've got a 4-sided die. I roll the die, and whatever it comes up is which deck I choose from. And we do a 4-card spread, past, present, future, and then what I call the crux, which is kind of like the turning point card, which kind of brings everything together. It's what everything turns around, the crux of the issue, and what we can do to kind of have the outcome that we want, or to get some perspective on what we might need to do. What we might want to avoid doing, stuff like that. It just gives us that extra little bit of oomph of like, this is really where the issue lies. We've seen it, and now we're going to see what we can do about it. So you'll see how things go as I do it. If you're here, you're already like sort of like get on with it. So let's get on with it. First roll is going to be a 1. So that is our steampunk deck here. This is the Steampunk Tarot by Ali Fell. I like this deck a lot. It's shown up quite a bit in the readings. You might be surprised to find out that I read with it a lot, but I really like the art. I really like the manual. It feels really like the Ali. Barbara. Barbara is the one who wrote the manual. Ali is the one who did the art on the inside, but it really feels like there's really a synergy between the both of them. But the manual, Barbara clearly has some sort of insight into the steampunk vibe and the way that it relates to the world that we're kind of really living in, and how it might relate to living in this world that can be such a grind and such a struggle. So Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. Oh, that's a lot of cards. I'm going to argue with you. That's too many. I thought it was 1. It was like 5. It's a little more past than I'm ready to delve into. So let's take another go at that. I thought it was calling to me, but it was not. It's trying to though. Interesting. I'm curious to see because I glanced down at what I thought was the 1 card. And I'm curious to see if that's the card that just reared its head. No. So our first card here is going to be for our past is going to be the 5 of Pentacles. Not the first time that this has come up. Coins coming up a lot. I feel like a lot of people are dealing with financial distress right now, understandably, with the way that things are going. And I feel like the 5 of Pentacles is really kind of indicative of that, right? I think things are hard and they're only getting harder, right? If we look to our past and our financial woes in the past, I think all of us can kind of go, yeah, there have been some pretty rough times, right? And that might be in your distant past, or it might be yesterday, But yeah, let's read what the book has to say about the 5 of Pentacles, and we'll go from there. Wands, Cups, Swords, Pentacles. There is no sugarcoating it. These are hard times, very hard times indeed. She feels the biting wind, not as a discomfort to herself, but as she imagines it feels to him. He is so much younger, so much weaker than she. For his sake, she plunges into the wind and darkness and snow in search of safety and perhaps the slightest comfort. What is more poignant than innocence facing the cruelty and neglect of the world? If anyone were to see such a plight, surely they would help, wouldn't they? This experience, while not as picturesquely displayed as this card, happens every day and often goes unalleviated. This is not a card of relief granted and mercies raining down from heaven. It is a card of need. Steampunk worlds are created by the mashup of genres. Here, it looks like the stories of the Little Match Girl from Hans Christian Andersen's story of the same name, and Tiny Tim, a character from Dickens' A Christmas Carol, have collided in a tale of epic tragedy. The image of the suffering, abused, or neglected child is common in Victorian literature and art. The stories mentioned here were written only 2 years apart, in the mid-1800s. Some say that images of children became symbolic for the part of humanity that was sacrificed to feed the Industrial Revolution. What of the church in the background? What symbolic role does it play? Is it help that is at hand, but is overlooked or rejected by the children? Is it help from an institution that should be offered, but is not, because the institution lost its vision and compassion? What is the relationship between the children's physical and spiritual lives? When this card shows up in your reading, it describes a time of physical need. Money could be lacking, health could be in question, time might be non-existent, or basic survival needs are perhaps not being met. This complex card does far more than describe the situation. It brings a pile of questions and unceremoniously drops them at your feet. As you work your way through them, you will likely find wise advice for improving your situation. So I think it's interesting. I'll hold up the card for the little zoom in that I like to do. The mention sort of here of, there we go. It's not focused, whatever. I'll have a picture up on the screen. It's fine. The question of the sort of spiritual need in the background, right? We're talking about disconnect. I think financial disconnect, I think emotional disconnect, I think spiritual disconnect all tend to be very tied together. And if you've seen any of my other readings, it comes up over and over and over again. I'm not like inventing this or making this happen, of like times being hard and it being a distraction from the good things in life, the things that give us value, right? And I think talking about disconnect, that's a big piece of it, where, we want to connect to something in our lives that's spiritual, that's emotional, that's part of our community. But, we often find ourselves separated from those things because we have work, we have to get home and do this, that, and the next thing. We're too tired to go out. We don't have money to go out. We don't have money to see friends. And especially after the COVID pandemic, but this was something that was happening way before that, the loss really of third places in a lot of American culture. This is what I'm speaking to. But third places being meeting houses that are outside of the home and work, right? So it could be the bar that your friends go to, once or twice a week, or it could be the library, or it could be just any place where you and other people in your community commingle. And we've lost so much of that in the past. And so looking here at the Five of Pentacles, looking at our past, I'm not just seeing financial hardship, although there is that. Lots of people are going through financial hardship now that has been building up as the last few years have sort of whittled away at our savings or our ability to feel stable in our lives. But that also leads to this growing feeling of disconnect from ourselves, from our community, from humanity, right? From the stuff that makes us us. I know that this is something that I struggle with a lot personally, simply because I am such an introvert. And I mentioned before in a reading that I'm a huge introvert, and COVID came along and just cranked that up to 11. And my sort of mistrust for others and my misanthropy sort of rocketed up into the stratosphere. And I've been really, really wrestling to bring that down, because I know that in those feelings is this, right? Is a dearth of emotional sort of support, a dearth of emotional connection, spiritual connection to my community. So when we're looking at our past, we're seeing this buildup, this lack of connection, right? Not just financially, but that too. I think for many of us, it's all of it. It's all of it. It's a poverty of self. And that's our Five of Pentacles. That's our past, is growing impoverished, growing more desperate, and not knowing where to look. There's the church is there. Are they not supporting, right? Are the pillars that we've sort of leaned on historically not there to support us anymore? Are they rejecting us? Is our community, is our salvation, is our ability to connect being rejected. This might be being pushed away by friends or family, especially in the current political climate. That is also happening a lot. People are feeling isolated and separate, even within their own families, that were maybe 10 years ago much less fractured, much less contentious, and now feel like, you know, you're maybe on the outside because of political beliefs you have, spiritual beliefs you have. And those are hard feelings to deal with, because these are the people who are supposed to like be there for you, right? They're supposed to take care of you. They're supposed to love you unconditionally. So when they're not doing that, that creates this poverty of self as well. If the people who are supposed to love me the most are pushing me away, what does that say about me? And those are hard feelings to deal with. And I think feelings that a lot of people who are maybe involved in the sort of community who watches this sort of YouTube video, you're probably feeling that a little bit as well. A lot of it. I have a tendency to understate. So that is our past, is this Five of Pentacles. Let's move on to our present. That is going to be a 3. So that's going to be our Empyrean deck here. Notoriously difficult to get a card out of. We'll see if that's a little different today. But, this, again, I love all of these decks in their own way. But I think in terms of just like style points, this one has it. It makes it a huge pain in the ass to like record and videotape it, because they're like shiny, glossy, holographic. And the way that holograph on these kind of cards work is like, there's these ridges, and the ridges tend to catch the light, depending on the angle you're looking at. So I will try to, obviously I'll have a picture up on the screen of whatever card we get out of this guy. Because they are very cool. Like taking the photograph does not do justice to the quality of the art. But thankfully we don't have to have photography for the meaning. And the meaning within these cards, I think, is really solid as well. The booklet is extremely well written and well thought out. This is an oracle deck. It's not a traditional tarot deck. So they've got their own sort of like thoughts and feels and vibes about sort of what's going on here in the Empyrean. But it is a very neat deck. If you manage to get your hands on it, you'll see what I mean. Like they're very, very pretty. The art is sort of like it feels sculpted out of marble. Even though it's clearly sculpted in like Blender, like it's digital art, but it has that feeling of like sort of classic, Greek or Roman sort of statues and things like that. It's a very, very interesting blend of like contemporary and ancient in terms of like styles, in terms of symbology, but with a decidedly sort of contemporary vibe. All right, so let's take a look at this, and this is Hearth. So what we've got here is an angel, and she's sort of like carrying what looks like to be a sleeping or wounded child, and sort of lifting them up above the earth and into the heavens. So very hard to sort of see. But again, I'll look at those colors. Look at those colors. So rich. So let's have a look at Hearth. This is our present Hearth. 33. The hearth calls us home. It's the golden glow in the middle of winter, the heat that warms us when our bones are cold, the love that stitches us back up. Some of you have always had this. You grew up with arms you could retreat into. Many of you did not. You had to learn to build your own home. The hearth is asking you to gather yourself. Nurture the feeling of home, of comfort, of relaxed play, of security. Reach out to those who can echo this warmth back. So few people have had the privilege of actually feeling safe and cared for, including with themselves. You know it when you feel it, but until then, we keep moving toward it. We continue to fight for that space within ourselves. And it is up to you how you will cultivate this feeling. You can use this feeling of safety as a compass. Notice your thoughts. Are they taking you home to yourself, to feeling empowered? Are they taking a hatchet to the house you're building? Often the first step is putting down the invisible dagger we carry, pointed at ourselves. From this space, we can reach out. We can invite in, we can trust that even when we're let down, we can keep ourselves safe. But the hearth is not meant to be only ours forever. It is meant to be shared and experienced with others. Continue to arrive to this place. And remember, to feel safe, we must create safety. We cannot expect the world to build it for us. It will never tiptoe around our fears. We will always feel brave if we know we can return home to a bed made of feathers. We can stay in the world's many battles as long as our hearts are lined with white flags. So interesting, right? I think kind of getting to the Five of Pentacles, maybe our past has been sort of plagued with unease, right? With maybe mistrust, with want, right? With hunger. And maybe this is something that we have arrived at in the present, or that we will soon arrive at in the present, right? This is something that we're seeking, is that feeling. That might be why you're here, is for a feeling of warmth, understanding, somebody who can help you, who can understands what you're going through, and can help you, lead you to that comfortable place. But it gets back to that feeling of disconnect from our community, from ourselves, from the world around us, from maybe our families. And I think that this is saying here in the present, what we're doing is we're looking for that community. We're trying to find that safety, right? That's why you're here, is to try and find an answer to something that is causing you to feel unsafe or uneasy, so that you will feel more at ease, at home, safe, cared for, comforted. And that's hard to come by, right? We should always be kind of moving towards it. I think we are all subconsciously moving towards pleasure and away from pain, right? And here in the moment, I think what we're looking for is that reconnect. We're looking for that sense of safety. This, right? All of these disconnects that we're experiencing, these financial hardships, these communal hardships, these maybe family hardships, these challenges within ourselves, right? Really what they boil down to is that sense of safety, that sense of home, that sense of belonging that the hearth offers, right? It's the lit fireplace and, a bottle of brandy or Dr. Pepper, as the case may be, right? Like whatever it is that you fancy that sort of warms your cockles when you get home from a long day or back from a long trip, right? Or see family for the first time in some time, right? These sort of symbols of warmth and comfort and safety. And so this is what we're looking for, right? This is actually what this feeling of disconnect has led us to, is this feeling of not being safe, but wanting to be, not feeling comforted, but wanting to be, not feeling like we have that community, but we want it. It's not just about money, right? Five of coins is financial hardship, physical need, but we know that all of that stuff is tied also into our emotional need, our spiritual need. You can look at all of the, sort of billionaire oligarchs out there in the universe and say like, wow, those people have more financial stability, right? They have more financial security than any other human being has ever enjoyed. And yet they seem so profoundly unhappy, right? The riches of the world are not just in material things. And I know that's easy to say when you have material things, right? I'm lucky enough to have this home that I live in and warmth and the equipment that I have to make these videos, right? I've lived a very privileged life. And so I know, looking inward at myself, it's very easy to say that, but it has not always been thus, right? And part of why I'm even able to make these videos is because I have found comfort in my community, in myself, in a lot of ways, and in the world around me. But not always, right? And it's not permanent. It takes building and it takes time. And so that's where we're at here. We're looking for this home, this feeling of connection. So if you're feeling disconnected spiritually and emotionally, what you're really feeling disconnected from, I think, is that sense of belonging. And belonging requires others. So maybe this is, the universe trying to say like, find your home and keep it and build it and make it safe. That's what we're looking for here in the present. So as we move on into the future, we can maybe get some insight into what that looks like, or some of the struggles we might find along the way. The future card is always murky, right? Like it could be one thing or it could be another, depending on sort of what comes up and what it's trying to tell us, question mark, or what I'm trying to tell you, question mark, right? Like, obviously a certain amount of conscious or unconscious bias that comes into my interpretation of these cards. But we'll see. We're going to mix it up, roll this neon green die here. And that is a 3. So that's going to be another Empyrean. It's going to be another Empyrean, which is interesting. Empyrean gave up the goods pretty quick, honestly, this last time around. So we'll see if it's playing nice today. Historically, like I said, it has not. It takes a lot of finagling. This is a deck that sort of needs wrangling. I promise you I don't like intentionally flub these or anything like that. I just let the cards kind of like come out randomly. I like a certain amount of chance, right? We roll the die and see sort of what's going to come up, and we shuffle the deck and see what's going to come up. And if the universe is talking to us, I want to give it every opportunity to do so, right? And oftentimes the universe does things in ways that I don't fucking understand. So if there's anything I think that is guided by the universe, it's going to be chance, assuming such a thing exists truly. So I like to leave as much up to chance as possible, because again, if there is some sort of like force, right? If there is some sort of mystical force guiding, shaping the universe around us, I want to give it the tools. And not just like shuffle and pull from the deck, take it kind of out of my hands as much as I can. So, but that also means sometimes I'm out here shuffling and shuffling and shuffling and shuffling. Ugh. And sometimes I drop the cards. Amend. So our future card is Amend. We've got this sort of these angelic wings, and this Ouroboros. That is sort of like connected by and joined by another sort of like invisible, ghostly Ouroboros on this field of like stars and particles and whatnot. And it creates these like, the Ouroboros creates infinity, but this like sort of extra binding ring that the wings angel thing, I don't know, sort of sits on top of. Amend. I'll have the card up on the screen again for you to take a look at, but that is our third card, Amend. So it's going to be a look at our future. About the creators. Amend, where are you? Oh, you're towards the back, 93. Even the strongest things can be fragile. Each moment can either build safety or destroy it. It can pull us further away or push us closer together. We can take our passions for granted or make too many demands of them, only to lose them altogether. Our razor tongue can slip and cut someone we love in a moment when they needed their wounds licked. To amend is to hold all that we care for and treat it with the respect it deserves. This may be preventable, but it also may be reparative. To tend to our past and diligently work to create the safety we once neglected. This is as much internal as it is external. We often inflict violence on ourselves more than on others. Where in your life do you need softer hands? What needs to be stitched up? It's time to redress these gashes. Powerful card. I think, to me, the sort of like evidence or the meaning here is evident, right? And I can at least see how it would be evident in my life, and so I'm going to maybe help you see how it might be evident in yours. But who knows? Maybe immediately clicked with you what you need to amend. But it feels like if we've had these challenging times, we've had these disconnects, we're feeling disconnected, right? We're looking for that feeling of safety. We're looking for that feeling of belonging. What that's going to take, or what that's going to lead us to in the future, is to make amends, right? To maybe repair relationships that were damaged in the past, that led us to this feeling of disconnect in the present, that this feeling of being unsafe, of lacking community, of lacking connection, of lacking stability emotionally and spiritually. That means we need to make that reconnection with somebody maybe that we've wronged in the past. Or we need to make amends about our mistakes that we made when we were in more desperate times. I know that the sort of what this calls to me is, in my past, I've certainly, in times of stress and disconnect and desperation, made choices that made me feel more and more isolated from my community, from my friends, from my family. And what this is saying is, as you move on into the future, as you're searching for this home, what it's going to take is to repair those relationships. You already maybe have those relationships or had them, and something happened, right? You lashed out at a time that you regret, but you still haven't said so. Or you feel like a relationship was broken forever, but maybe in the future, that's not going to be the case. Maybe in the future, you're going to have the opportunity to, to make amends, to be recalcitrant and say, I'm sorry, I'm a different person now than I was then. That's not an excuse. It's just who and how I am, and who then and who I am now is different. And I'd like to start over with you. I have found in my life that human beings understand that human beings are human beings. We understand that things change and people change. And I think people are really willing to give second, third, fourth chances if there's that effort, if there's that trying, if there's sincerity to it. I think we have pretty sophisticated bullshit detectors built into these noggins of ours, and we want good things. We want to have those relationships back. I think of a very, very good friend of mine. He was my best man at my wedding. He didn't talk to me for 2 years. This was a long time ago. But I did something that I knew was kind of heartless. And I knew it at the time, and I put my own feelings above his. And he just didn't want to have anything to do with me. And finally, our sort of mutual best friend was like, I can't do this shit anymore, guys. You guys need to fix this. Like, you need to talk it out and figure it out and get the fuck over it, because I can't be friends with you guys when you're not friends with each other. And we did. We hashed it out, and it took time and to rebuild that trust and rebuild that relationship and to make those amends, but it was worth it. This person went from my closest friend to somebody I didn't talk to for years to my closest friend again, right? Like that transformative power to go from, 0 to 100 to 0 to 100 to 0 to 100 exists. And that also means we have to be careful with it, right? This is a warning as well. Like, when you find this, when you make those amends, when you repair those relationships, it's important also to maintain them, to not repeat the same sort of mistakes or engage in the same sort of isolating behavior that got you there in the first place. We have gone through all this hardship. We felt all of these disconnects. We've lost sense of ourselves maybe. And now here's this opportunity to find that home again. But it has to be maintained. It has to be something that we actively choose to follow up on, to follow through on, to keep going. We can't just say, oh, okay, it's back, it's better, I feel good again, because it's not all about me, right? Community is about all of the people in the community. Home is not just about you and your safety, it's about all of the people who live under that roof. So amends is saying, as we move forward, if you want to go home again, if you want to find that feeling that you've been looking for, that reconnect that you've been disconnected from, look to the people that maybe you owe an apology to and see if those bridges are at a point where they can be repaired. And if they are, keep them going. Really follow through, follow up, talk to those people, become really a part of their lives again and bring them into your life again. And you're going to find that feeling of home. Now, our final card is going to be the crux. This is going to be kind of the thing that pulls it all together, right? Like the guidance of like, okay, was this a warning or was this a suggestion? Is this the future that we're headed towards, or a future that we're going to, potentially derail with our own stupidity and hubris? Who knows? This is going to be something that bridges all three together. So let's take a look at what it's going to be. And that is a 4. That's going to be from our Twildic Tarot here. Very cool deck. If you've seen my readings before, I think all of these decks are cool. I like talking about them a lot. Every time I get to shuffle them, I'm like, yeah, okay, now I get to talk about why this one's cool. This deck is discontinued. The creator has unfortunately passed away. The sort of materials for it online, I think, are really insightful. The art is extremely detailed. Like when you look at it, like the cards seem sort of flat. There's no people in them. Like there's no evidence of a living creature, in the cards. They're very sort of like muted and oops. Did I fuck that up? No. They're very sort of muted and earthy and brown and natural. But then you spend time looking at them and you see there's just an exquisite amount of detail. The art is fantastic. So that's going to bring us to the 3 of Staves. That's going to be our crux card. Give me like 3 shakes to see what the fuck this is about, because I have no idea. I don't know if I've ever actually seen this card. Are you gonna let me read it or no? You're reading a preview. I don't want to read a preview. I want to read the whole thing. Blah. Where to buy? No, that's not right. Full deck details. No, that's not right either. What happened to I had a PDF. If I could spell, that would help. Tildwick. Do you have? No results. Okay, it was you. Let's see. All right. Got it. Hello? Can I zoom you in, please? Or get you so that you're of a readable size? No? You don't want to do that? You should want to do that. You've done it before. Okay, well, that's zoomed in a lot. Okay, whatever, man. So let me flash you the card here real quick, make sure that, as usual, I will have the card up on the screen for this. So, without further ado, on top of a chest sits a model of the ship Santa Maria, the flagship of Columbus on his first voyage attempt to discover the New World. People generally don't build historic models of cars, planes, or ships that weren't of some importance, so this card indicates reaching an important step towards one's goal. The ship also brings to mind the phrase, "My ship has come in." This phrase originated in areas along the coast where families made their money from the sea. Mothers and wives often had to run a tab with tradesmen for food, clothing, or other supplies. When their husbands or sons returned and were paid, these women could pay off the credit they had been given. Their ship, the one the family member was on, had literally come in. The 3 of Staves is generally a positive card, showing the first results of a choice made and actions taken. But just as the ladies had to follow through on paying their bills, it also indicates a need to follow through with commitments and obligations. The wallpaper of roses is like the bouquets of roses often given to athletes and performers to honor them for their excellence, and thus indicates a reward for accomplishment. The chest has 4 drawers. The next number of the Staves suit. To reach some lasting stability, more work is going to be required. Time to get busy cleaning up those drawers and sorting out what is important. So, so our crux is going to be the 3 of Staves here. And so often in these readings, the crux card comes down to like, you've got to do it, right? You've got to do the work. I think often in our lives, we look for solutions that are the path of least resistance. And when it really comes down to it, you've just got to do the fucking work. That's it. Like, you're feeling disconnected. You're feeling all of these ways. The cards are saying you're looking for that sense of home. You're looking for that sense of belonging. Maybe you've made some mistakes in the past that have separated you from those places, from those people. And in the future, to recreate that sense of home, of feeling like you're connected to a community, to a family, to a sense of belonging, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to talk to those people. You're going to have to make those connections yourself. I believe the amends card was saying, like, the world's not going to do it for you, right? These communities aren't, things that spring up from nowhere. They're built, they're created. I think about every sort of theater troupe that I've been involved in, right? It centers around the work. It centers around the rehearsal and all the moving parts, right? All of the different members of the cast and crew who have to work together to, put up this play and perform it. And that's what everything is built around. It's not just, a handful of people showing up at this theater to chit chat and have community. The community happens as a result of the work. And maybe it is at your job. Maybe it's in your family. Maybe it's in your friends. Maybe it's some other thing, right? Your hobby, your interests. It means being intentional about making those amends, intentional about reconnecting with that home that you've lost, reconnecting with that feeling of home that you're missing is going to take work. The good news is this is a hopeful card that says the fruits of our labors are going to be successful. And that's not always guaranteed, but it tends to be true that if you work your fucking ass off, you're going to accomplish the thing that you meant to accomplish. Does that mean, the sort of like American myth of like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and believing and all that stuff? No. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. What I am trying to say is if you work to build those relationships, they'll get built. If you work to reconnect with people you've lost touch with, then you'll reconnect with them. How many times have you sat around wishing somebody would invite you out or share their plans with you, only to find out that they wished that somebody else had reconnected or had reached out to them? When I was in college, this is a pretty sad story, so brace yourself, trigger warning for death and stuff like that. When I was in college, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and it was the absolute classic Patriots versus Giants Super Bowl that came down to the wire, where Eli dropped this Hail Mary and the player like caught it on his helmet in double coverage and basically saved the game and won the game for the Giants, and finally toppled the thus far undefeated New England Patriots, who were on their way to the first sort of modern undefeated season. It was an absolute classic. And I remember earlier in the day having thought about an acquaintance of mine, who was burgeoning into a friend, somebody that I knew here and there, right around campus. He was really well known. He was always at a party. He was always sort of like the person that everybody kind of wanted to hang out with, and I had thought about inviting him over to watch the game because a handful of my friends were going to get together and watch the game. And I was like, nah, man, like, I'm sure he's got like 18 different invitations. Like, everybody always wants this dude around. I'm not even going to I barely know this dude. He's come over to my house and played poker a few times. It's not that, he's probably got other stuff going on, only to find out that that was not true at all. No one had invited him to watch the Super Bowl that year. And so he wound up at a bar alone, watching the game with the people around him who had showed up at the bar, complete strangers. And he unfortunately did not have anybody looking over his shoulder and helping him out and talking him through his decisions. And so he went out to this bar alone, and he got very, very drunk, and he attempted to drive home and got into an accident and passed away that night. And I think about that often when I think about how many people who appear to have everything going for them, don't necessarily. I thought that, he would have 18 different plans to choose from that night, and he had 0. Nobody had reached out. Nobody had talked to him. Nobody had invited him to be a part of their community. And I know if he had come over to my house that night, he would still be alive today, which is not my fault, but it is just a fact of the matter. I would not have let him drive intoxicated home. He would have been able to walk home from my house, in fact. So that little action of reaching out to that person who you've wanted to talk to for a while, that you wanted to reconnect with. Maybe it's somebody in your friend group, your family, a community that you used to be a part of and kind of grew apart from, a hobby that you have been involved in, somebody from an old sports team, whoever it is, you're going to have to make that connection happen. You're going to have to reach out. And the good news is, chances are good, if you do that, it's going to be worth your while, right? Success is waiting right around that corner. That feeling of connection, of reconnection is right around the corner, but it might take a little bit of work to make amends on your part. You might have to say, I'm sorry. You might have to eat a little bit of crow, and that's okay. That's part of being human. We all have made mistakes. We've all been under duress, right? We've all had hard times and made desperate decisions. But if you're willing to make that connection, if you're willing to open that door back up, you are going to find that sense of belonging and connection that you're missing. So it might be something as simple as sending a text message, making a phone call, shooting a message on Instagram or whatever it is, sending someone that note saying, hey, haven't talked to you in a while. You doing okay? You want to hang out? Let's get some coffee today. Let's go see a movie today. Let's go out to dinner tonight. Right? Make that concrete plan, make it happen. Don't do that nebulous, like we should hang out sometime. Sometime is never, right? A time is a time, sometime is never. So really follow through, right? Really follow through, reconnect, make that connection happen for yourself. Make that amend, and you'll find success reconnecting with your emotional self, your spiritual self. And guess what? A lot of times, if you're feeling financially unstable, that is a great way to make a new connection to a new job or a new opportunity that you did not know existed before. I've gotten a lot of jobs through friends who were like, oh yeah, no, I know something that'd be perfect for you. Let me talk to someone. So, if it is a financial hardship that you're looking at, making those new connections, reconnecting with those old communities can help bring new opportunities into your life. So that's our spread, our past, present, future, and crux for that feeling of emotional or spiritual disconnect that you might be feeling, and how maybe we can go about reconnecting, breaking that feeling of disconnect and turning it into a feeling of home, of belonging, of safety, of stability that we're looking for. So I'm Rain. I am the Skeptical Mystic. It's been a pleasure to read for you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. If anything in this video clicked, resonated, connected with you, please drop a comment down below. It helps these videos get seen and picked up by the algorithm. And I just want to hear what you guys have to say. Like, this is a community too, right? There is a community of people who are here, connected globally, whether they really realize it or not, who are all sharing this experience. And when you reach out, when you leave that message, whether it's on my video or someone else's, you're placing sort of a connection out there into the world, a desire to connect out there in the world. So feel free to do that on this video so I can get paid. Anyway, thank you guys again, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck out there.